Hey, everybody, this is Perch, and I think we need to just bring this up because it so penetrated every part of comic conversation. You can't look at a comment board of any video, you can't go to Twitter and avoid it. I got to the point where I muted the word woke on Twitter simply because it was overused to an extreme amount. And the reality is, and this is where, look, you can disagree with me if you like, but if you're being honest with yourselves, and please be honest with yourself, this term is being used to blanket all kinds of things, and it is incredibly overused as a term. It's lost a lot of whatever the hell it was intended to mean at whatever point that was. So, what is woke? For if you go online, if you just look up a definition, woke is simply defined as aware and actively attentive to important facts and issues, particularly issues of racial and social justice. Woke has had just surged as a word and a phrase over the last 2 years or so, to kind of be a catch-all. A simpler way of saying, back in my day, we simply called this politically correct or being overly politically sensitive. And it was, when you said somebody was being politically correct, it didn't mean politics necessarily. It meant they were, going overboard. Once upon a time, believe it or not, there was this push for women, the word women, women, or woman with woman, to take out the A or the E. So it didn't have the word man or min in the word women. They replaced it with a Y. So it kind of sounded more or less the same, but it didn't have the word man in it. And this was supposed to be empowering. And people said, oh, that's being overly politically correct. That's being ridiculous in terms of words. And in fairness, it was. Again, everybody can have their own definition of what is and isn't ridiculous, but it seemed kind of silly that you changed a word spelling to take out a letter that happened to contain the word man in it, but it still sounded the same, and more or less everybody wandered around the same, and clearly it didn't stick because people do not use that in any kind of real way today. So, but right now the word is woke. And woke can mean, again, a lot of different things. The problem is woke now stands for everything, for all intents and purposes. And people throw that term out around to basically mean, I don't like this comment or I don't like this person. They don't really want to come up with a solid argument some of the time, so they'll just say, that's woke. Now, there's definitely content that fits that definition, that overly politically correct definition. It's where if you have a comic and inside of it, the characters are kind of bending over backwards to like put it this way, if you go into normal day conversation, you walk into a Starbucks and you order a coffee and they ask you for your name to put on the cup, you do not give your pronouns at that moment. You simply give them your name, they write it on the cup or whatever else. There was a comic, an indie comic, where the person said, can I have your name for the coffee order? It was a really exciting scene in a comic page. And the person said, my name is Carol, pronouns they, them. Now, why is a person giving the Starbucks, and it wasn't said as an ironic joke or anything else, the Starbucks person or coffee person smiled and kind of wrote the pronouns on there with the name. And that definitely came across as politically correct, or I think you could classify that as woke. Or more appropriately, you could classify that as really boring storytelling. That's the challenge with a lot of this stuff is that to me, and this is again speaking for myself, not any of you, but for me, a lot of this stuff could be simplified if we simply called it what it was, which was this is boring or this is bad. It can be that simple. I don't know. Interesting question. If something is overly politically correct, and I'm old, so I could use that term. If it's overly politically correct or overly, quote, woke, then can it still be good? A legitimate question. Can you have a good piece of, good comic, a good piece of fiction that utilizes really painful kind of politically correct tropes? Can you do that? I don't think so. I think it ruins the writing, personally. But unfortunately, the word woke has, expanded to include everything and anything. And this is where, and people are definitely going to not like some of you are not going to like what I have to say. But again, you've got to be honest with yourself. I'm not saying all of you. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying a majority, but there is a small group out there, and you can see it in my videos or other videos or comments where they will label everything that is not white or male as woke. And for proof of this, we talk about Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is a Green Lantern character, been around for a long time. Jon Stewart in a comic, it's a woke comic. Is Rhodey, War Machine, in a comic, it's a woke comic. Again, lots of you who use that term do not go that far. You have your own kind of definition of how you use it, and that's fine. But the trying to map out what people mean at any given moment is crazy. I'm watching an argument going on with people about Green Lantern, and somebody says, I like the Jon Stewart Lantern more than the Hal Jordan Lantern character, which is a fine opinion. You can hold it. It doesn't mean anything to say that. However, the person who's arguing for Hal Jordan, rather than defend why they liked Hal Jordan more, immediately swung to, you're clearly, you need woke storytelling. Why? Because a guy liked Hal Jordan. I saw the similar thing happen with Robbie Reese, the Ghost Rider character. Somebody's like, I like the new Ghost Rider character. I think it's cool that the Ghost Rider rides around in a car instead of a motorcycle. Now, my opinion is, no, motorcycle beats car for Ghost Rider. That's just the Ghost Rider I prefer. But I don't think saying I like the car Ghost Rider over the motorcycle Ghost Rider is indicative of woke. Do you? Again, I'm just being honest with the term. Does that mean anything? Okay. I don't think it means anything. Now, if I tell you that the guy who's driving the car Ghost Rider is Latino and the guy who's driving the motorcycle Ghost Rider is white, does that now make it more woke? On the surface, no, it wouldn't. Now, if the Robbie Reese character was driving around in his car and was saying, this is a blow for white privilege, and he was, he turned into Ghost Rider, he's like whipping his chain around and going, Biden, vote Biden, then I guess you could say, again, you could call that woke. You could also just call that terrible storytelling, because nobody wants to read a comic like that. That sounds awful. So I guess my point here is, it's very, I'm blown away by how much people just label literally anything they dislike for whatever reason woke. Again, not everybody, probably not you. For the people who comments who are going to come in here and say, that's not true. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Come on. Again, be honest with yourselves. Look at the comments of some of these videos. Is the new movie The Batman is being labeled a woke film. It's 3 hours long, and from what I understand, I go see it tomorrow. From what I understand, there is one line in that film that says something about white privilege, and it is thrown out for whatever reason. Does that mean because it had that one line in it? And by the way, I am asking honestly, if you have a 3-hour movie and you have a 2-second line that says white privilege in that movie, does it now become woke? If Catwoman is now half black, does that make it woke? If the Riddler makes a comment about, I don't know, if the Riddler throws out his pronouns, he did not, but if he did, would that make it woke? Seriously, what are the boundaries? And I think there's some obvious things, just like kind of earlier examples, where you could say that is overly politically correct. There's some comics that definitely feel like the writer, the creator, is grinding some kind of political, social acts, and it doesn't fit the character. That's the most striking thing about all of this, is the vast majority of political correctness that seeps into comics don't fit the actual characters that they're talking about. It would be like if suddenly Batman goes kind of running out into Gotham, and he's like, guns don't kill people, criminals do. I'm pro gun rights, and the Blue Lives Matter, and let's go Brandon. If Batman started a comic like that, that would be awful. I mean, you wouldn't want that comic. Nobody would want that comic. So I think that, again, you could call it woke, but you could also just call it awful storytelling and get the same point across, in my opinion. So help me out here. And again, hopefully, those of you who are seeing the video, I'm being honest with you. This isn't some kind of bit. This isn't sarcasm. It is, the line is ridiculous. Okay. Um, I I had some people. So we did this review with Joe a month or months ago. It's a while, where Perry White gets magic cigars, and the magic cigars give him superpowers stronger than Superman, and he flies around. It's a insane, ludicrous story from the Silver Age. Sure as shit, some guy comes into the comments to talk about how this comic was woke because it put a rich white man, meaning Perry White, I guess. I don't know if the editor of a newspaper is exactly a rich white man, but Perry White was kind of portrayed as having some money. I mean, I guess. But because it put a rich white man in his place, the comic was woke. This comic came out in the 60s. What are you even talking about? That to me is insanity. But again, help me out. Where is that line exactly? Let me have it. Tell me your definition of stuff, because to be honest, you look at a lot of these videos, you look at a lot of the that you see all over the place, and it's like a shotgun blast of woke. People just wake up one morning and it's all like they briefly scan the comic. Hey, there's Vampirilla. It's woke. Why? A woman's on the cover. What? That's madness. And I think this blurs a line between legitimate, lousy, politically correct, terrible writing, and just somebody who's tossing that word out for anything they don't like. Again, I'm being honest. You can come in here and you can, Perch is being disingenuous, blah, 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 whatever you want to do. But it seems a bit silly to me. It seems like it's all over the place. So help me out. Where exactly is this line? Where do you draw it? And are you sick of it? Are you sick of it? I am beyond sick of it at this point. It's just it'd be like any word that gets used with so much repetition, you just get extremely tired. But maybe it's just me. Anyway, what are you gonna do? Thanks for listening.